We are at the scene of the crime. A little trip down memory lane. What do I mean by that? We're at the site of my first deal. Very first deal that I did together with my sister back in 2001. And we're in New York City. We're in Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy, Bedford-Stuyvesant is the name of the neighborhood. And I want to tell you a little something about this because I made a ton of mistakes. And these mistakes are things that could wipe you out. It could wipe you out easy. So let's take a little trip down memory lane. I like to do this now and then to think back to see what I learned and what lessons I can teach to you guys. Because I do all this for you so people understand what's going on. So there'll be a little bit of noise, some people walking by, some cars driving by. It's New York City. It's busy like that. So no problem. So what wound up happening? What was my first deal like? We bought a 6-unit building, again, New York City. And we wound up, it was full of professional tenants. And it wasn't properly set up as a proper 6-unit anyway. We didn't know that, we didn't understand it, we didn't know what we were doing, we didn't understand what was going on. We only had book knowledge at the time. We didn't have a mentor, we didn't have a course. I mean, it was basically a book you get at the bookstore, $20 book. That got us excited. We wanted to learn some real estate, and so we just jumped right in. Now it's good to jump right in and make things happen. It's not so good to decide that you should jump in without any knowledge at all. And basically what happened was I bought a place as a rental for cash flow. And I thought I needed cash flow. I wanted a little bit of money every month, but that wasn't really what my problem was. I was broke. I was broke when I started. I had no money. I was so far behind. It was ridiculous. A lot of credit card debt. And so buying a property that would pay me $100 or $200 a month didn't make any sense. That's phase 2. That's cash flow. I needed a phase 1 type deal. This is what I teach my students in the program. There's phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. A phase 1 deal is for massive amounts of cash. That is what I needed. I needed cash. I didn't need cash flow. So basically, that was one of my initial mess-ups, one of my screw-ups, was I should have been worried more about getting some cash to pay off my debt, a phase 1 type deal, like wholesaling or rehabbing, rather than a buy and hold, because a buy and hold, there's no easy exit strategy out of the deal. You're constantly waiting for money to come in a little bit every month. So that was one of the big things that was one of the first things that I did wrong with the deal. Now, another big problem that we had is I didn't have good control over my team. In fact, there was barely a team. There were a lot of different people involved. We had a realtor involved, we had a mortgage broker involved, we had an attorney involved. And you started to wonder what side was the team on? What side were they playing on? Most of these people were paid a commission upon the settlement of the deal. And that's good in some ways because there was no money out of my pocket at the beginning, but what that means the deal needed to close. And this deal took many months to get done. There were a lot of complications. It was very difficult. And so you started to wonder what's going on with is this going to close? And there was a certain point where it probably shouldn't have closed. We shouldn't have been allowed to buy the deal for a number of different things, both the way it was set up, but also our financial situation. But nobody was going to walk away from it because then they wouldn't have been paid for their time. So whose side was my team on? Were they really playing for me? Were they my team on my side or not? That was one of the big problems, one of the big mess-ups that I made. So what happened once we finally bought the place? It was a mess. It was basically full of professional tenants. All of them knew exactly what they were doing, exactly how to get away from not paying the rent. They knew how to play the rent court game with us, and we were just completely messed up all the time. One of the tenants then, I guess, again, I did this deal with my sister, and she used to we had a manager at first. That didn't work out. We wound up self-managing the property. Most of that burden fell upon my sister Tracy, who's now a short sale expert. And one of the reasons she's a short sale expert is based on the issues we had with this deal. We want to help people in similar situations. But one of the tenants beat my sister up. And that was kind of the end of that. We said, all right, we really need to get out of this. We almost went belly up. We almost lost everything. And most importantly, we almost got knocked out of the game for good. So why? Why did everything go wrong? What was wrong with this? It was a totally wrong type of deal for a newbie. Like I said before, it was a phase 2 deal rather than a phase 1 deal. As your first deal, really to take on a buy and hold, I don't think makes any sense because you don't really understand the full realm of what you're trying to do, and you don't understand, you're not properly educated because you haven't been through a deal. I like to see our students in our coaching program wholesale their first deal because it's you get your team in place, you understand the process, you go through the entire setup, the entire system. That makes a lot more sense. I would rather do it that way. That was a big problem. I wasn't properly educated. And I wasn't properly educated because I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have a coach. I was out here doing this on my own. So my main point is don't make the same kind of mistakes I made. And get help, I didn't have a mentor, I didn't have a coach, I didn't know what I was doing. I was trying to do this out of a $20 book from the bookstore. It was just almost impossible. I was doomed to fail from the beginning, and it almost knocked me out of the game. And that would have been horrible, because I've had a great life in the ensuing years since getting into real estate and getting into it right. But that's when I got a mentor. I found wholesaling. I started to understand the difference in things. You got to get a solid path to success. Having a mentor, a proper coach that can teach you what to do and what not to do, and you can learn from someone else's mistakes, that was a game changer and what wound up being a life changer. So look, folks, you've heard it said before, success leaves clues. Well, you know what? So does failure. Success and failure both leave clues. But I don't repeat failure, I repeat success.